Hey everyone, and welcome to our social media post workshop. One of the most common questions we get here at Denim Social from both our customers and prospects is, what do I post on social media? In the social media world, content is king, so you've got to put in the effort to make it engaging and fun. If you're pretty new to social selling, or even if you've done it a while and feel like maybe you're out of ideas, it can be hard to come up with content at times. Even more so, it can be hard to know how to say something or how to get the message across in the right way. Creating content is not always easy, but with the right strategy and best practices, any post can be made better. And for the financial industry, sometimes content can seem boring, or you might find yourself always posting the same type of stuff. Well, we're here to help with this social media post workshop. We're going to walk you through some super easy ways to add a special touch to your social posts. And we'll be sending out this deck as a resource to everyone here today, so you can keep it to consult and share with the rest of your team. But before we officially get started, just a quick round of introductions. If we want to go to the next slide, my name is Kelly Rouse, and I'm a customer success manager here at Denim Social. I work with our customers on a daily basis to maximize their usage on the platform and help them with their social selling strategies overall.
Hi, everyone. I'm Connor Phillips. I'm the marketing manager here at Denim Social. And a big part of my role is helping our brand, our team, and our customers put their best foot forward on social media. So we're really excited to share some of our knowledge with you today.
All right. So Connor, to start us off, what makes a social media post great? And can you tell us some of those elements to look for?
Yeah, Kelly. So in today's digitally charged world, there is such a wide variety of social content, and it can really differ depending on where you post, what the context is. But there are some qualities that I think are absolutely essential no matter what. So I was actually just at the Social Media Week conference last week, which is one of the biggest conferences of the year for brands looking to stay really relevant and knowledgeable about social. And let me tell you, all of these things that we're going to talk about really rang true, particularly the authentic piece. And I think we just need to add before we get into things that, despite what you might think about your industry, your customers, social media really is the present and the future reality of where and how people are communicating with everyone and everything, and where they're going to look for information. So even if you think, I'm not sure social media is right for me and what I do, it definitely is. And you want to start educating yourself now and feeling like you can handle this kind of new age of digital transformation.
Yeah, I totally agree, Connor. I know that I personally find so much of my information on social media that I'm looking for. I mean, most of the time, and quite honestly, if not all of the time, I actually go to social media first when I'm looking up any service or a product to educate myself in what's available to me. And so with that being said, we're going to walk you through our Denim Social recommended best practices for how to craft the right post. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Okay, so first things first is you have to find your voice on social. And I know this is like a little bit ambiguous, but you have to kind of figure out how you want to show up on your networks. And it should really just be an extension of your in-person self personality. You have to kind of think of social media as an extension of who you are, and your social media personality should not be totally different than your in-person. And before you just jump into posting on your networks, you really want to take time to be thoughtful about how you want to show up on there. And to help, you can kind of look around at what other professionals in your field are doing, or just think about the best customer relationships that you have and what makes that communication so great. And remember, it's a conversation at the end of the day whenever you're posting, and you just speak directly to people like you would in real life.
Yeah, I completely agree with this, Connor. This is so important. And I think that a big reason so many people have trouble taking this first step with getting more active in social is because they just don't realize that social media isn't a performance. It's truly just building your community and helping your audience with helping audiences with what you say in everyday life.
Yeah, I think that authenticity is really the key piece there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so step number 2 is knowing your network. So just be mindful of the limitations and advantages of each network and know that not every post can be translated across every social network. So just for example, like very general, Facebook is personal, Instagram's very visual, LinkedIn is the professional network, Twitter can be very concise and like niche depending on your industry. And you might not even find that every single network is a good fit for you. Maybe you just want to be on LinkedIn and Instagram or just Facebook and LinkedIn, but just know when you're creating a post, like be mindful of where it's going.
Yeah, and if anyone needs more information on this, we've actually had some webinars about drilling down each social network and the different personalities of each one. So be sure to check that out if you haven't. We also have quite a few resources on our website to help you figure out how to approach each social network as well.
Yeah, and Kelly, the main thing is realizing that the way you craft your messaging and formatting can be really different depending on where you're showing up. And I know it can seem kind of like overwhelming or confusing at first, but just keeping a content calendar is my favorite way to plan ahead and avoid stress about posting. So, like it's Tuesday and today I'm posting on LinkedIn, and just having a system like that in place can be really important. And before long, it just becomes really second nature. So as you're starting to post more, just be patient with yourself and realize that you're investing in your future success by taking the time now to learn these subtle differences. And we're going to send a little holiday content calendar template in the follow-up just to give you like a little boost to get started with that.
Thanks, Connor.
Okay. So step 3 is kind of making content king or queen, as I like to say. And what we mean by this is placing a focus on creating quality content for your social media posts. And being on social, like it all, is the first step, but nailing the content aspect is really crucial for success on your networks. And I think one of the biggest mistakes we often see is people just posting an article or a link with no context. You really have to personalize, add messaging to, again, show your voice that you've cultivated and make it interesting for people to see and read. And you want to make sure it's relevant and catered to your audience. So think about things you get asked about a lot, points you're always trying to get across to your customers, just about how you can really educate your audiences and your followers. But at the same time, you want to keep it fun too. So just a few ideas to mix it up. You can do like an Ask Me Anything, how-tos, fun events you're participating in, things for your audiences to get to know you, things you love about your community, debunking myths about your industry, and so on. I mean, there's just endless ways to get really good content and make it educational and fun as well.
Yeah, I love those ideas, Connor. And I, also love it when I see a loan officer or an agent or something sharing information in a way that's super digestible. Stories do a great job of this as well. I'm always telling my customers to use social media as a storytelling tool, just so that it makes it easier for your audience to understand. For instance, if you have maybe a week where customers are consistently asking you the same sort of question, this may be a great idea for a post and telling a story about it, and making it more digestible for them so that they're learning something from you.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. That is what content is really all about. And just for a little tip, keep an inventory of posts that you like to see or photos that you could share. Think about how you could translate that to a social post and what you want to say. I mean, I definitely keep a folder in my phone that's called social media ideas. And in my notes app, I have a little list that I keep ideas running. And anytime I'm stuck on creating content, I can just go back to it and consult it and get new ideas to help prevent that like posting block that you just get sometimes.
Yeah, you never know when inspiration will strike.
Definitely. Okay, moving on to step 4, keep it visual. Social media is all about looking at stuff, right? I mean, young people are actually watching social media videos more than they're watching streaming services like Netflix. So that visual presence is super important. And in an industry like financial services that's built on personal relationships, this is like especially true. If someone is trusting you with their very important life decisions, getting to know and trust you is everything. And that's a big piece of all this, really, is building trust. And that's why you want to be on social media. And if you've never used Canva, that's a great resource. You can create graphics, videos, edit photos, resize things to fit the network you want to be on. And then you can also just find a lot of ideas like, here are 5 things you should know before you buy a house, or 3 misconceptions about buying insurance. And then with Canva, you can, present that info in a really appealing way. And just things like that you can use and plug in your info and make something look really visually nice.
Yeah, and it's also good to note here that make sure you're using the right sizes for each network for your images, because what looks right on LinkedIn probably is not gonna be this. It's not going to be the same for Instagram story size, for instance. They all have different formats, and it's an easy way to really look like a social media pro.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it can kind of seem like a little thing, but it really makes all the difference in how you show up and how your posts show up on a given network. And my main advice is don't be afraid to like reuse and recycle old content. You can always share things again and switch it up a little, especially if it's been a minute since you last shared it. And often people need to be communicated to several times for a message to resonate, as probably everybody knows. So just get creative. You can literally have one idea or piece of advice and come up with 3 different unique posts based on that. So just try it out and don't feel like you have to like reinvent the wheel every time you're posting on social.
Okay, Connor. So I get this question all of the time. Are hashtags still a thing?
Yeah, so that is definitely a fair question. And you'll probably hear some conflicting opinions on hashtag use. But the reality is they can still help you show up and increase your visibility, particularly to those that would be a good audience fit. So just for example, if you're an insurance agent and you use the hashtag like hashtag insurance tips or something similar to that, maybe a customer is shopping around for insurance, we'll look stuff like that up on social media. And then there you have it in their feed. So certainly can still be very relevant.
Yeah, absolutely. Have another question on this. How do people know what hashtags to use?
The best thing to do is really just to look them up. There's no like, it's kind of different for everybody. You can search for hashtags on different networks. You can just hashtag what you're posting about. I like to keep a list just ongoing of popular relevant hashtags to use. And then I can like just kind of plug and play whatever I need in a social post. And you can actually see what's trending on any network or Google hashtags that are popular in your industry. But in general, I would probably stick to like 3 to 5 hashtags, definitely under 10 for a given post, just to keep it authentic looking, keep it looking really neat and nice. And you don't have to put them at the end of the post either. You can weave them in throughout. You'll see that a lot on LinkedIn, especially.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Connor. And this is a fun one. I know I love this, but emojis. Connor, for financial professionals, are emojis even appropriate? I know that sometimes I see a post with like 100 different emojis, and I think to myself, yikes. So what's the deal with that?
Yeah, it's definitely something that should be used sparingly, but emojis can definitely play a role in creating a compelling social post. I think the main benefit of these is that they can support your message by providing emotional context. And sometimes, if you don't have the right words to communicate something, or if you want something to have like a certain connotation, especially, when you're doing like a written form post, and they can really spice up a post that might be kind of bland and overall, but you just want to keep it professional, right? So sprinkle them in when you need that extra touch, but definitely do not overdo it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Connor. I think that they can also add some personality, like you said. So just helps your audience connect with content on that emotional level and kind of humanizes you too on that level. So
Yeah. Okay, so for step 7, you want to choose the right format. And what I mean is that you should like post a text only post, a photo, a graphic. Like, how do you know how to get a certain message across? How should it look? And I think here you have to have the idea of what you want to communicate first, and then think about the best way to show that. Some ideas might be best conveyed in photos, especially when you're talking about your involvement in your community or your customers. Sometimes information is best put in a graphic if it's hard to explain. So it really depends on the circumstances. There isn't anything wrong with like a text only post either. You just want to liven it up a little bit with those hashtags or emojis just to keep people engaged, because it is hard to capture attention sometimes. So that's where this formatting stuff really comes into play.
yeah, absolutely. And I always wonder, just from a live perspective, like how is a post going to show up once it is live? And how do people make sure that it's the right format?
Yeah, so first of all, you have to always proofread, check for spelling, grammar, spacing. Spacing, by the way, is very important and something I think a lot of people overlook. So, how you space things out, like sentences and different pieces of a post, can make it a lot easier to read. And then with tools like our Denim Social platform, you can kind of get like a preview of what a post will look like before it gets scheduled out or published. So just pay attention to how it looks before you just shoot it out live. And how you present it is just as important as the content itself. So making it look nice can really make or break a good post. And you don't have to like overcomplicate it or come up with the most groundbreaking thing ever. Just stick to those basics to have the formatting on point.
Okay, Connor, last step. Can you tell us what this means?
Yes, so don't be shy. This is just as important as crafting the right post, because what you do outside of posting will really help bring your whole social presence to life. And I mean, when you post things, you want people to see them and engage with them. So you also want to be engaging with posts that you like and that are relevant. So it's give and take. And if there's someone or business or organization you want to call out or mention, be sure to tag them. Tagging people, especially on LinkedIn, is a great way to also add to your post, improve your visibility, and then just, engage with other people. That's kind of what posting's all about at the end of the day.
Yeah, like you said, social media is definitely a give and take. I mean, it's called social media for a reason. And so much of the time it really is a conversation. It's not going to just be posting and ghosting.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to be an active participant to give your posts the boost that they really need to shine. And I know for a lot of people, like including myself, sometimes social media does feel overwhelming. But just setting aside a few minutes each week to engage and check on your posts, your networks, it really makes a difference over time. And just, like you said, don't post and ghost. Like, put it out there, but then also engage, and that will really get the most mileage out of it you possibly can.
Absolutely. These have all been such great tips, Connor. So to getting your social media posts right, I know I'm going to be incorporating some of these into my own. So Connor, just to wrap it up, if you had to give someone some general advice on creating the right social content, what would you tell them?
It's a good question. I think first of all, there's no such thing as like a truly perfect social media post. It's just going to depend on different circumstances, but everything that you do and say on social can make an impact over time. So these best practices, keeping them in mind and being mindful of what you're doing and saying on your networks, that is what is key. Focus on quality over quantity. It's way better to have a really good, well-crafted post once a week than just a poorly formatted, unoriginal, like link only post every single day. So be open to trying new things. Maybe you want to try out some video or put a poll up on LinkedIn. Just know that social media in the industry, they will always change quickly. But what doesn't change is the importance of authenticity, which we will keep saying over and over again because it's so true. And just being your real self on social so you can create those connections with your customers and they can get to know you and build that trust. And that's what they want. They want to know you, they want to connect with you, and the content will follow. Don't stress about it. It takes a lot of time to become a social media pro. And even then, there's always something new to learn. So just keep learning, keep educating yourself, and keep these best practices in mind.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Don't be afraid to take risks here because that's going to be how you perfect your post construction. These have all been such great tips to getting your social media posts right. Thank you again, Connor. Hopefully you all gained some insight here to help make that content creation a little bit easier for you and to have a better understanding of, how to really create that post. Thanks again for everyone who joined today. Before we get to questions though, just wanted to remind you that we'll be sending out this presentation after this for you to have as a resource. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into questions and see what questions people have. From it looks like Connor, here's one. What is the name of the site you referred to for content?
Probably talking about Canva, where you can create graphics. So Canva. And I know for like our customers, our admins have folders with like templates from Canva that we put in there. And but obviously you have the ability to create your own too. So it's a great resource for when you need like a graphic or something created.
Good question. How long should a post be?
Oh, that is another really good question. And it depends on the network. Like for Twitter, you have a character limit. I think you want to get your message across as concisely as you can, because people aren't going to spend a lot of time to just read a super long post where you have to like scroll. So I would just say, try to answer a question or get a message across as concisely as you can, and then add those visual elements to support, like emojis, photos, graphics, things like that. So it can depend, but I would definitely always err on the side of a little shorter is probably better.
Okay. And then how often should you be posting?
There's a lot of different kind of opinions on this. But I think what it comes down to is you shouldn't just post to post. Like at Denim Social, like we have this kind of thought that's like you should have a purpose when you post, and don't just say something to say it. So maybe, for you, that's once or twice a week, and that's okay. Maybe you have 3 really good posts every week. So I would say you want to have a consistent schedule, that you're not going like months between posting, but certainly make it impactful and meaningful when you do post. But for a lot of I think realistically, probably anywhere from like 1 to 3 to 5 times a week is pretty normal. You don't need to be like posting 10 times a day or anything like that.
I agree, Connor. And I got another question here. So it says, we touched on this a little bit, but does it matter that much if the graphics are specifically sized for each platform, as long as the graphics are clear and crisp and still look good?
So this is a case where I would be mindful of sizing. Sometimes on different networks, it can actually cut off part of the graphic if it's really not the right size. I think as long as it fits, you can see it clearly. That's okay. But definitely make sure it's not getting cut off in any way, because that can definitely happen, which is why proofreading and previewing is very important.
Absolutely. Got another couple here. So any tips for Instagram Reels? It's a really good question.
That is a good question. And video is just completely changed social media as a whole. Video content is really what people are gravitating towards. So looking more at Instagram Reels and these video-based platforms is a great idea and gets a lot of engagement. I think for Reels, some ideas, I would just kind of look around at what's trending, what's popular, what are people like your customers engaging with. And I think the things that we've said in this webinar about, myths about your industry or sharing advice, you get a lot, and then just kind of talking about it, that's like a great starting point for a reel. And then just, keeping it casual. Nobody wants to see like a super overly edited video anymore. So just act like you're talking to one of your customers or your clients. And that's a great way to get started with video.
All right. How do you measure success and results when posting organically?
Yeah, so tracking and paying attention is very important as you're posting many times on social media. I do want to add, it takes time to really see results. You can't just post once and be like, okay, like I didn't get any engagement, this is pointless. And I think part of it is just tracking like who's engaging with your posts. Is it your customers, people in your industry? And paying attention to what's hitting the mark, like what kinds of content are people liking or sharing? Is it video? Is it when I talk about this subject? So I would just say make a note, and you can always improve and go from there when you are paying attention to how your posts are performing.
All right. And got another question here as well. This is a good one. Is it good to mix up your content? For instance, I post videos, pictures, and just text in a round robin. Is that a good strategy? Just in terms of engagement, and is this something that you would recommend, or is it still good to kind of mix it up?
I definitely think it's good to mix it up. First of all, like we've said, it's good to try new things and see what people are responding to. It also makes your feed more interesting when you're sharing like a wealth of knowledge in different formats. People are going to enjoy following you and seeing your content. And you can always, like, if you're like, video is really not working for me, like nobody's liking this, maybe when I post informational graphics, those do really well. But certainly having that variety, I think, is always going to be a good thing, and it's going to make you a more compelling person on your network. So yeah, definitely mix it up and don't be afraid to try new trends and things.
All righty. It looks like we've got time for one more question. It looks like here's another one. After a year and a half, we've just started seeing more traction on our social posts. As far as engaging with other accounts, do you recommend liking/commenting on accounts we're already following, or also finding new accounts on the search page? That's a really good question.
Yes. And as we said, social media is give and take. You definitely want to be engaging, because it's really about like your community that you're creating on there. You're not just like sending off a post and like keeping your fingers crossed that someone will see it. you have to also put yourself out there, and a big piece of that is engaging. So when something is relevant or related to what you want to say or what you do, definitely like, comment, share. Feel free to find new accounts that are meaningful to you, and then just keep putting in that effort, because in return, you're increasing your visibility. And often, I mean, that's how you find new people. You see, oh, so and so like commented on this post, and I didn't even know that account existed. So yeah, always stay active on there.
Awesome. All right. It looks like we've come to the end. Thank you all for these questions. Feel free, if you think of any more questions, to reach out to myself or Connor. We're happy to help you. I hope everyone has a great day, and we'll see you all next month. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.